Hey folks, Chris here at the Crabapple Cottage. If your garden is anything like mine is right now, it is pumping out the zucchini. Here we have 5 gigantic zucchinis. Look at this. I mean, I have kind of little hands, but that is a monster zucchini. And I've cut them up. I've made zucchini chips, which my family, they're okay. They're not potato chips, let's put it that way. But we've made zucchini chips, we have sauteed zucchini, we have shredded zucchini. So today I'm going to make zucchini flour. So stick with me and I'll show you how it's done. So I have washed my zucchini and I have cut the ends off my zucchini. And now basically what I'm going to do is slice them into uniform slices. You can see this zucchini is a little too mature. It's got the seeds in it and I probably wouldn't even want to like saute it because it's got the thick seeds in it, but this is perfect for making zucchini flour because once you get it all ground up, you know, it's not going to matter. So yeah, so I've washed the zucchini. This is about 12.5 pounds of zucchini, I believe, and I'm slicing it. I could use a mandolin to make these slices thinner, but not really necessary. Just slice them up so they're uniform thickness, and then you're going to get them in your dehydrator. Okay, so I've got my zucchini all sliced up and loaded in my dehydrator. I'm going to turn it on. This one has an adjustable thermostat, so I'm going to put it on about 135, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Unfortunately, I ran out of dehydrator trays for this particular dehydrator. I do have another dehydrator, but I don't really have a place to set up a second dehydrator. So we're just going to do this batch, and then the rest of the slices, I think I'll put in the refrigerator and try dehydrating those in a day or so once these are all done. So my zucchini chips have been in my dehydrator for about 24 hours at about 140, 145 degrees. You should let them cool, and then when you take them out, they should just snap in half. If they're still pliable, they are not dry enough. Whoop. But these are clearly dry. They're kind of remind me a little bit of like styrofoam, actually. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to break them up into smaller pieces with my hand. This is going to make it easier for me to put them in my coffee grinder, and I'm going to use this, I think it's a KitchenAid. Yeah, KitchenAid coffee grinder to grind them into flour. You could probably use, you might be able to use a blender or a food processor, I'm not 100% sure. I always just use my coffee grinder for my powders because it does a really good job of making a super fine powder. I think probably some other machines might not make quite as fine of a powder. Alright, so let me crack these all, break them all up. Nice and friable, that's what we want. I've broken my zucchini pieces, my zucchini chips into smaller pieces. Next, I'm going to place my coffee grinder on a plate. I find this is better for catching the dust that inevitably spills over from the machine. Now, unfortunately, with something like this, you can't do a ton at one time. It's a little bit of a slow process, but it works. Powders, be careful. Let the powder settle a little bit before you take the top off, and don't breathe in heavily because you'll inhale powder. You can see a little bit of, maybe you can see a little bit of zucchini powder. Okay, so I like to sift my zucchini powder, or really any of my powders, as I put them in my jar. This is a quart jar that I'm using here. And this just makes sure that I get all of the clumps. If you don't sift it, that's okay too. It's not going to be the end of the world. You just might have, little bits of zucchini in whatever you're using with. Now, your zucchini flour, you don't want to use just zucchini flour because it doesn't have any gluten in it. So you could substitute 1/3 of the flour in your recipe with zucchini flour. So 2/3 regular all-purpose flour, 1/3 zucchini flour. Also, be aware that zucchini flour, at least to me, has a slightly sweet taste. It's not super sweet, but to me it's noticeable. So you might take that into account when you're cooking. I don't know how it would taste in something savory, like a breading on like fried chicken or something like that. It's probably best for baked goods or anything where a tiny, tiny bit of sweetness is not going to be necessarily a bad thing. Okay, so here are the pieces that didn't go through my screen, and I'm just going to throw those back in here. Do those again, and I'm going to add more. A little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this zucchini powdered, and then I'll show you the final product. Here we go, all finished. This is my zucchini flour. It's kind of got a very light green color to it, consistency of flour. My dehydrator, one load in my dehydrator made about a half a quart. I'm going to go ahead and dehydrate the other batch of zucchini that I had from that 12-pound harvest. And when it's all said and done, I should have pretty close to a quart of flour. Good way to add nutrition to your baked goods and to use up some of those zucchini if you're getting monster zucchinis out of your garden. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you later.